We elected a black man with the middle name Hussein for literally 8 years after
Yeah, twice.
after
Yeah.
the Iraq War, by the way, after Saddam Hussein. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode, or the last episode of 2024, the Blue Sedition podcast. I'm Nate Brady alongside my charming co-host,
That's
Mike
right.
Smith.
I'm Mike Smith, everybody. Thanks for spending your time with us today. And as we close out 2024, we've got some exciting stuff to talk about today.
Do we? Is it exciting? First,
Well,
how was your Christmas? Did you have a good Christmas?
yeah, we had a good holiday. I think
Yeah,
that I don't know how, but it seemed like the news cycle was mercifully quiet during the
it was
during
because
the
I think you and I both we both have young children, so
yeah.
I think I just stayed completely away from it for Christmas. It's just
I, yeah, I
yeah.
definitely did that where I'd plug my phone in the bedroom and then hang out with the family and not
Yeah.
have any distractions for hours at a time. It was lovely. Can you
Yeah.
imagine living like that?
Wow. I don't remember those days. Yeah, so good. I had a good Christmas too. I think it was nice to kind of unplug. Christmas is definitely magical when you have a young one still.
Yeah,
Santa Claus came and all that, so that was cool. But now we're back to reality, I guess.
unfortunate. We
the
are.
the reality is shit is continues to hit the fan. We can start with, I guess, some breaking news. Turns out that the U.S. Treasury Department was hacked. So let's pull this up here. We'll just pull up here. We can pull up it's trending now on Blue Sky. So if you don't know, Blue Sky has trending topics now, which is cool.
It
So
is.
yeah, a hacker reportedly obtained a security key that allowed them remote access to some Treasury Department workstations. I think there is still obviously stuff underway here to determine the depth of this breach. But I mean, if you're getting access to workstations that are on the network, that seems bad. Is that bad?
It's pretty bad. I will add one more piece of information. This is obviously a developing story, but it is reported by the Washington Post that the attack was orchestrated by a Chinese state-sponsored actor. So
Yeah.
this is actually an act of espionage, not just your everyday run-of-the-mill some hacker in a another country. This is allegedly an act of espionage.
Yeah, I
There's
mean, what do they want with the Treasury Department? I mean, one, hey, where's my money, bro? Is China like, where's my money, bro? But oftentimes with hacks like these too, it's not about the access point, but it's
right.
it's if you can gain access sideways into various other networks within the government. So it might not be that it was necessarily the Treasury Department that was the target, but was certainly the way in.
Right. You see that a lot in larger corporations who are
Yeah,
attacked this way. They'll do something like get in through seemingly innocuous access to an S3 bucket or something on
right.
Amazon, and then suddenly the hackers have access to your entire AWS
Yeah,
ecosystem.
yeah, exactly.
So I think that
So
that's the sort of targeted attack here is that they can find any way to get their foot in the door, then maybe they can find more from the inside.
yeah, and I think it's always the case that these foreign actors, which I have no doubt the U.S. government is involved in as well,
We've
are
yeah.
always trying to find ways in one way or another. So it might not have been that there's something specific they're looking for at the Treasury Department, but certainly this is not good.
No.
Um, but I'm sure President-elect Donald Trump, our next president, he'll handle this, right?
Yeah, he's probably gonna have Elon take care of it. He's his tech buddy, so
Yeah, I mean,
he's the best at tech. He'll
he
tech
he
so
is
hard.
the hardest tech bro I think out there. And I think he probably hasn't commented on this issue yet because he's still getting his thoughts together. But I'm sure Elon, like he talked about what they could do at Twitter to fix it. I'm sure he'll have some really bright words about how we could have prevented this from
Yeah,
happening.
how it could be prevented.
Yeah,
We see things like this, or we saw, I haven't in a long time, I guess, but for a long time there was a period where either like the state couldn't get into iPhones or the state
Right.
couldn't stop people from doing certain things like that. And then you always had McAfee at the helm yelling about how he could do it and he can,
Right.
So maybe Elon's the new McAfee now.
Well, we hope so in more ways than one. Okay, I guess since we have to, we're talking about him, let's get this kind of story out of the way. It'd be a good transition because I want to be done talking about Elon. What the hell's going on with Elon? What's going on with Elon and MAGA?
Man, what is going on with Elon and MAGA?
What's happening?
I think that it's more of the same, really, is what we talked about the dysfunction of the Trump administration from his first term. And we all remember the problems that were all there. You have a lot of alpha mentality types in the party,
Sure.
basically, but also running the show. And if at any point one of these people feels like they're more important than any other piece of it besides the king, then they just go full out to war with one another.
Yeah.
And so my understanding is that Elon basically said that Tesla couldn't exist if it weren't for H-1B1 visas.
H-1B,
and MAGA World said, nope, we're deporting them all. And he called them retarded.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, did he really say the R word? Did he say the hard R? I mean, he probably did. He did call them, I have a couple of quotes from Elon. He called them hateful, unrepentant racists. He's going to go to war over the issue. He stated that he's always liked the H-1B program. I mean, this is hilarious to me because it was so clear that all Donald Trump does is drum up that racist base who all just don't want, non-whites coming into their country and taking their, white jobs. And Elon's like, whoa, wait a minute, actually. And I'm not giving Elon any credit here because Elon spent, what was it, $250 million helping Trump amplify the message of we're going to deport everyone. And now he's shocked. He's taken aback by the fact that all of these people want want to actually deport everyone and not allow H-1B visas, and only the quote unquote Einsteins should be allowed in through that other program. I mean, I don't think this guy's as smart as he. How is this happening?
I mean, how can Elon? It's his favorite thing to do. He and Trump actually share a lot in the way that they communicate, is that they just start talking, and then their political ideologies will catch up with their mouths later.
Yeah.
And so, he knows what he wants, and so he just started talking, because that's what Twitter's for. And before you knew it, it was saying some stuff.
He was saying some stuff. Yeah. That's accurate. I mean, and Steve Bannon, who we definitely care what Steve Bannon has to say. Great guy. Great ex-con. He did dismiss the idea of a civil war within the party, but he does claim that Musk and other tech bros, they're not tough enough. So I guess tough.
What did he mean by that? What does he mean by they're not tough enough? Like they're unable to be a part of the forthcoming fight against the liberals, or what does that mean?
I think you're not tough enough to like take the hits on H-1B.
Oh, you think he means it like fiscally tough? You can't cut it without those guys.
Yeah, or just the fact that, like, you remember when Elon first said if Trump wins, we're going to take a little bit of an economic hit first.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of the same thing that Steve Bannon's saying. Like, listen, let's deport everyone first and then figure out what the hell is going on, kind of thing.
And then we'll fix the economy after.
Yeah, sure you will. You will.
I'm wondering if anybody could, look elsewhere for things like that instead of just claiming what will happen. If you could go look for evidence somewhere, as a simple example, the Brexit that they pulled over there in the UK isn't quite the same thing as deporting, 13 million people, but it had sort of similar feel to it, and it certainly aimed at the same sort of goals of trying to make it so that it was, UK first and all this other stuff. And how did that go for them economically? Is the Brexit thing, is that going?
I think it's going great.
Really well.
I think it sounds like it's going great. Yeah, and there's even, I think there's a Brexit type movement starting by far right people in several other countries. It's very, very.
Which countries?
I want to say, I don't want to say it until
they're actually in the European Union.
In the European Union.
Oh, okay.
That I want to say I want to say Ireland has had some idiots speaking up, and it's just.
Isn't Ireland? Well, anyway, we're going down the rabbit hole here.
No, Ireland's part of the EU, right? And as a member of the EU, for whatever reason, there are people in Ireland, part of the idiotic right-wing movement, that are like, hey, we should do a Brexit. So but you're right. We're getting a little off tangent. Point is, hilarious infighting between Elon Musk, who is pretty much funding the entire MAGA movement at this point, and the actual racists within the party. So,
yes, and it hasn't even started yet. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that this is all the stuff that they should, in theory, all agree on anyhow. This is their end goal, unless Elon's really stupid. So to see this kind of infighting before anything has actually, the next term hasn't started, obviously, president hasn't even been sworn in yet, like, this is all happening over social media, but you clearly have people at each other's throats already. So I can only imagine how much fun we're going to have the next 4 years.
Right. So I guess now I have to bring in another shitty person into this just to close the terrible loop on this.
Okay,
speaking of loops and loopy, we got Laura Loomer got involved in this. So Laura Loomer, who has, unfortunately, people probably know who she is. She was suspended from X for, I think, about 12 hours. She even lost her check mark for clashing with Elon over the H-1B visas. And that began when, well, we can just take a step back. Suddenly now Laura Loomer is questioning Elon Musk's free speech absolutist take.
Right? Is she?
So shocking, right? I mean, this is all like stuff we all could have seen coming. I don't really I don't know if there's much to say on this. Yeah, I think she may have accidentally leaked somebody's public address or something from a disclosure, like an SEC disclosure, and that was the claim for her suspension. She has since apologized for that. I think she's back on X now. I think that she has her blue check mark back, though I'm not sure because I don't care that much. Or FEC records. It was FEC, not SEC records. She called it an honest mistake, and now she's back there. But something hilarious did happen where she joined Blue Sky. I don't even think she made a single post.
She did, and she followed one person. She made no posts,
and she was immediately
banned from the platform.
And now, so first, what's your take on that? Do you think that's okay? First and foremost,
I don't even know that I think it's real. The moderation team at Blue Sky has been very forthcoming about who, like, they just did this thing last week with what's his name? Single, whatever his name is. He's a hate speech guy from Twitter. He's Jesse Signal, is that his name?
Something like that.
Yeah. He came on the platform and basically just started fighting with everybody. And he got warned again and again and again, and then he got banned. It was like he was there for a week doing this before he got a ban, and he was following people and he was active. And so I was like, But they made it very clear when it happened why he was being banned. He was violating terms of service over and over and over again. And they eventually just said, you can't be on this platform if you're not going to abide by the rules. Her thing is she made, no posts, and she followed one person and then she banned herself. And I have to think that that's just her looking for attention, because Laura Loomer loves her some attention. But I mean, anybody can, find the band picture and put their own name on it. It's pretty easy to do. So I don't know the validity of it. If she did get banned, good. I like Blue Sky. I don't want her there.
Yeah.
I mean, she also, I don't know if you saw this, but she went on a podcast this morning, and she's back at it, fighting with the group with them, with Elon and all that. I don't know if you've got that handy or not.
Why is she famous? Why is she anything? Like, why?
I don't know.
I mean, I remember her like handcuffing herself to Twitter headquarters, like
yeah,
like several years ago. But other than that, like, why is she anybody?
She's just an internet personality, who hangs around with the InfoWars types of folks. That's all I got. If that's not enough reason, then I don't know anything else. But it's like asking, why is Alex Jones relevant? And it's like,
right.
Well,
all right. So you have a video you want me to play here.
Yeah, I got a video here.
Okay, let me share this from Aaron Rupert.
And I apologize to our audio listeners. This will be Laura Loomer speaking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what we need to have a conversation about is, what is it going to mean for the future of our country, our national security, and the incoming Trump administration if we have a bunch of technocrats who are also essentially welfare queens because their companies are receiving government subsidies and they want to take over our defense industry? If you have a bunch of tech bros with billions of dollars and direct unfettered access to the vice president and the president of the United States, and then they are also, very cordial with our adversaries, as in China and Iran. We see that Elon Musk is having these meetings off the books with Iranian officials, with Chinese officials. What does that mean for us and the future of our constitutional republic?
Okay, hang on. Yeah, okay.
And there
Steve Bannon's like, oh! Like,
yeah, I mean, I agree with everything she says in this video, for one.
If you had put like a filter on her and you had made it somebody else, I would have been like, yeah, this is fantastic.
Yeah. If you got an AI to make that AOC say it instead, I'd be like, yep, that makes sense. It's completely on brand. But I mean, I think that's the other thing. You ask who Laura Loomer is, why do we care? She's a chaos agent. She just comes in and she stirs the pot. And Steve Bannon is the same way. I didn't want to say Steve Bannon until the very end when we realized it's the Steve Bannon podcast here. But she just brings in chaos. I mean, she's already
she's like Candace Owens, right? She's another
yes. Oh man, yes.
Yeah, I think that's.
But I mean, they're going to just keep fighting. There's going to be infight. I think that this is the flavor here is that staunch MAGA, the crazy MAGAs here, don't want Elon to have the ear of the president,
right?
Because then they lose control, right? Because they want the president watching Fox News every morning, listening to the Steve Bannon report and getting his information from them. If Elon's there bending their ear or his ear, then Elon's got more sway.
I almost wonder, and oh god, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for saying this, but no, I mean Elon is terrible, okay, but is Elon so much less terrible than regular MAGA that having him there is currently a good thing for us? Right?
I don't know. I think it's too early to say.
I mean, certainly
obviously sorry.
I was going to say the money is a problem, right? Because it's allowing
money's
MAGA
a huge problem
to be there. So that's the issue. But otherwise, is it bending their ear in the more of the better direction,
toward the correct direction? Yeah, I don't know. Right now his position on this specific issue is that these visas aren't a problem. We need skilled laborers from other countries. Why we can't get them here is a question I have. But he wants to at least keep that position of those migrants, for lack of a better word, wants to keep them coming to the country and supporting the economy and supporting his companies. And I think that that's a good thing on the whole. But MAGA is going to disagree with them, and then we've seen it. They don't want people coming into the country for any reason.
Well, I mean, you said it earlier, and you just asked the question now too. It's like, and I think I saw this. I don't know if it was a fake response from Elon, because I don't care enough to look into what any of these guys say is real or not. But the question is, why can't we get those skilled laborers here? And Elon's response to that is because you're fucking morons. That's why. Like, I can't, like, I mean, just look at the discourse among the right as far as, like, I just saw something today that was like, oh, the woke mind virus is in liberal university. I mean, even Elon quote tweeted it and said, you know, shocking or wow or whatever he says, right?
Yeah. And it is interesting because they're clearly opposing viewpoints held by the same person, right?
Yeah.
You're like, the universities are the problem. We need to shut them down and stop educating people this way. But also, we don't have enough educated people to do the jobs that I need them to do.
But
so it's like,
and the other thing he says is, how come we're educating, you know, foreigners here and then allowing them to go home? We should retain them. You know, we should keep them here. But then, what do you mean? They're coming here because we have world-class education here at the university levels. Is that not the case, or is it a woke mind virus, or is it?
This is the problem
skilled,
with
right.
The right holds opposing viewpoints on things as simple as this, but as complex as the migrancy in general. And you can't argue with them. They believe that the thing is both itself and its antithesis at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to argue with someone who feels that way.
Yeah.
There's no positive debate to be had. But unfortunately, these people are elected officials. And so you like, how do you debate with the people who make the decisions if they refuse to listen to logic or reason?
Right.
Ugh, terrible. Laura Loomer, you so-and-so.
You person. So I guess we can stay on theme here. There's another we can talk about Mike Johnson a little bit, because I think this all kind of ties in together. And I actually have another video that I wanted to share on that as well. I have to see if I can find it because I've lost it. I thought I had bookmarked it, but apparently I did not.
So Mike Johnson's the current Speaker of the House, and he was basically elected specially to replace what was that guy's name? And then he quit politics forever.
Well, you're not thinking of Paul Ryan, are you?
No. I'm not thinking of Paul Ryan.
Because he did the exact same thing.
The House that they elected, and he was and he did it for like a week basically. And then they voted a no confidence vote against him and kicked him out.
Yeah.
Kevin something.
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy, right?
McCarthy, yeah.
I'm trying to find it. It was basically, it's very funny. I think it's Jeff. I can't find it, you son of a bitch. Well, anyway, there was was it Scott Perry? It was basically one of these Republican reps who were like, listen, I guess I'm committed to Mike Johnson, but if Trump calls me and tells me otherwise, then yeah, I will, I'll listen to that. And then literally period or semicolon, comma, deep breath. I am an independent person. I can make decisions. I'm like, what is happening? It was a really funny video, but I don't know where it is now. So what's your take on the Mike Johnson situation here?
The Mike Johnson situation is really kind of interesting because what I think is an actual underperformance by the Republicans in this election cycle leaves them sort of vulnerable with a 219 seat majority. And the Republicans have had trouble whipping the vote when there's easy ones to win. Obviously, I brought up the Kevin McCarthy thing, but it was ostensibly 5 Republicans, the crazy ones, held out against him and refused to go on. You know, like you remember that scene where McCarthy like wanted to take it to a vote, and they took it to the vote, and then Matt Gaetz voted him down. And then he at the end he like walks up to him, and they're like fighting and shouting at each other. And man, so like the possibility for chaos agents in the Republican Congress is, I mean, it's not a possibility, it's an inevitability.
Yeah,
egos
sure.
are gonna get pushed, and then people are just gonna they've weirdly got the backbone to just say, I'm not voting for you.
Right.
I don't care if you're the right answer. I'm just going to burn this place to the ground.
So Trump did have a and here it is. I'm not gonna read all of this to our listeners at home, but basically Trump had a very long post on his failing social media website where he said, you know, we are the party of common sense. So starts off with a ridiculous statement that they won in a landslide, more ridiculousness, that they have a mandate, all of that stuff. In there, he talks about Beyonce and Oprah. I'm not lying. This is real, by the way. But anyway, at the end of it, he says, he endorses Speaker Johnson by saying, like, he's a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win, with all caps, which I don't know what continue to win means. There has been literally no winning, at least for the working class, or really anybody who isn't a handful of billionaires. So I don't know what the winning is. And he has his complete and total endorsement. So there was that, but then I did find the video that I wanted to play, and it was from Representative Jeff Van Drew. So let's play this now.
Get it? Members of Congress want to explain.
Is supporting the speaker.
I am supporting the speaker, and let me say, if I hear from President Trump, who I do speak with relatively regularly, and I have a relationship with him to the contrary, that would change my mind. Let me say this: I'm a very independent person, so I get it. I get it. Members of Congress want to express their individual viewpoint. We're a co-equal branch of government.
I mean, that's basically it. We're supposed to be a co-equal branch of government, but if Trump calls me and tells me who to vote for, I'm going to vote for that person, I am a very independent person. What
is that? Just not an open and honest handout, like asking for something from the president? Is he not just saying, look, I'll vote for you, but you got to call me and we got to come to an understanding? Doesn't it feel like kind of a shakedown to you?
Feels like it, but I don't think Trump does shakedowns. I mean, I don't know, right? Like, but Trump gets on a phone with a guy and says, I need you to vote for Mike Johnson. You think the person on the other end of the line can get away with, like, well, this is what I need from you? Do you think Trump is that guy?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. More on that point, though, or not on that point, but just in the same sort of vein, Representatives Tom Massey, Victoria Spartz, Andy Biggs, and Tim Burchett are all basically on the fence right now and leaning to the negative. In fact, these are all Republicans in the House.
Was this before Trump's endorsement this morning?
Yes, this is of like an hour and a half ago.
Oh, so this is after Trump's endorsement. Okay.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So Mike Massey said, quote, I respect and support President Trump, but his endorsement of Mike Johnson is going to work out about as well as his endorsement of Speaker Paul Ryan.
Ooh. Wow.
That's so he's the most vocally opposed to Mike Johnson. But then again, Spartz and Biggs go on to say other things, basically not yet made a public or private commitment to the speaker. I'm undecided, etc. And so again, they can only with Massey ostensibly saying I'm not voting for Mike Johnson, then that leaves them one vote, as far as I can tell, in the margins to carry that speaker vote. And so if you have one or two more Republicans come out and not vote for him, you're going to have the same thing we had last time, where you're going to have a new House Speaker, and who the hell are they going to put up there?
I mean, that's the thing that I'm curious about, right? Like, Mike Johnson is about as good of a far right Speaker of the House. I mean, other than going real Matt Gaetz,
he didn't. He failed on a few key things.
But he failed because it was nearly impossible to not fail on those specific things. And I think that's what the MAGA base, and those that are trying to placate the MAGA base are trying to point to as, we need somebody new, we can't let this happen. But the same thing is going to happen. That's just the way it works.
Right. So he didn't tack on the debt limit increase,
right?
Which is something that Trump wanted him to do, apparently. But he came with he ended up passing a version with of government funding bill with bipartisan support, which I guess that's a weak look to Trump. Like, his idea is, why do we have to do anything with the Democrats? Why do we need to agree with them? I think his position is just one of, like, the Republicans should be able to pass whatever they want. They have a majority, and they couldn't do it. So I don't know. Again, it's chaos, and I look forward to it. If there's one thing about Trump presidencies, it's that they're chaotic.
Well, speaking of Trump, we can go to one more Trump story before we move on. So let's go to this one. An appeals court has rejected Trump's appeal in the E. Jean Carroll sexual abuse and defamation case, which still means that the incoming president, the president-elect Donald Trump, is still and I think I've got this right. I don't think I'll have to donate $15 million to his library project. He's still a rapist, right?
Sexual assaulter who has committed something that in the common parlance most people refer to as rape, and legally distinct from rape. I think that's a mouthful, but yeah.
But so in common parlance, so as a commoner myself, and not a
Yes.
I mean, I have this little
you're not a
podcast.
legal person, and
Right.
you're not trying to defame him in any way.
Oh no, I'm
Right.
just saying he's a rapist, right? Like, I'm asking.
I think
questions.
that's what this says. We're just asking questions.
I'm just all I'm doing is asking questions. Okay, so the incoming president-elect is a okay. So I just wanted to go over that. I mean, this is great.
Adjudicated.
Adjudicated.
He's out of the appeal here, but he hasn't been sentenced yet.
I don't know. Again, I think we say this. Wait, what? I think we say this. Civil trial. I think we say this at least once an episode. But I'm not a lawyer, right? I'm But is this the end? Is there another appeals court other than, like, can it go up to the Supreme Court? I guess. I mean, what?
Yeah. So
where does it go?
What this is a federal appeals court. I mean, you have to know what section it is. I think that the next step would have to be a Supreme Court appeal, but it's a civil case. I don't know that they do that.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Sorry.
So we'll ask Legal Eagle. We'll ask him. He's probably got a video coming up about this now that this news is dropped today. So
okay. All right.
We'll keep everybody informed as best we can, and we'll get back to it. But this is, at the very least, good in the sense that, well, okay, sanity still reigns in the courts for the moment.
Yeah,
he
it's like
just throw out his conviction on this because he's coming president.
Right. Yeah. Which really would suck.
Like, we just want to have a couple of experiences where the events that transpire are precedented. I don't want new precedent every single week with the crazy rapist president.
I mean, it's going to be. I mean, we're going to get that in other areas, but at least right now we're still safe.
We're still sane.
We're still so okay. I don't want to talk. Do we have anything else on this guy? Can we move on from this guy?
On the Trump guy?
Yeah.
No, I don't need to talk about him anymore today.
Okay.
I think that he's busy working with his transition team and, trying to drum up votes in the House, and he's quiet. He hasn't been able to do anything, but he's not president yet. So
okay,
we'll see.
Okay. So with that out of the way, I think there was another thing that you wanted to talk about. What did you have?
So there was a poll run.
Okay, let me pull
by Nork at the University of Chicago. I'm sure that everybody has seen this at this point, but they ran a poll that I think surprised a lot of people in the health insurance industry here.
Okay.
They were asking opinions of people about the Luigi Mangione situation, we'll call it. And they found some results that I think that a lot of mainstream people, found it surprising.
Okay.
So The first one that I'll point out here, and you're for our online audio viewers, our listeners here, Nate's on the actual results of this. The question that was asked was, how much responsibility do you think each of the following had for the recent killing of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson? And so the number one answer was the individual who committed the killing.
Sure.
Well, I think we can all agree with that. That makes sense.
I mean, he killed the guy, so
He killed the guy, so he's probably most responsible for it.
For the death of the guy. Sure.
But then, within a margin of 9.
So that was 78% of people.
Yes.
Of 1,001 adults, 78%.
It's not percentage based. It's like a ranking system. So like 78
is it not
means
percentage?
a lot of a lot. Yeah. So it's like rank how much this was, and then they average it. So the average, is like a 78 out of 100, basically.
That sounds like a 78% to me. But okay, that's fine.
Maybe
I have no idea. I don't know.
The next great deal or moderate amount of great deal was denials for healthcare coverage by health insurance companies. And again, people ranked this nearly as responsible as the guy who did the killing in this poll.
And then right under that, like literally right under that, 67 is profits made by health insurance companies.
I don't think that any of the blue collar people in this country understand how much everyone hates health insurance. This speaks volumes here. People hate health insurance.
I'm going to ask you a question because and I think I know the answer. The top two, aside from the individual who committed the killing, right? The top two are denial for healthcare coverage, profits made by health insurance companies, and then wealth and income inequality in general, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the three basically highest reasons that people believe that Brian Thompson was killed. The candidates in the last election, specifically, I guess we'll talk about Kamala Harris.
Okay.
How much talking did she do about, let's say, healthcare for all or the wealth and income inequality in general?
Not enough.
I don't remember hearing about it at all, frankly.
I agree. Obviously we have beat this dead horse again and again, but the only person the only few elected officials we ever hear about this are the usual suspects, right? It's Bernie Sanders, it's AOC and the gang, and those folks who are trying their best to tell everyone that healthcare is a problem right now and people are suffering and we need a better option. And it's fallen on deaf ears due to socialism and everything else you could think of. But the numbers don't lie here.
It's the most popular two items, right? And I think one of the other one that's not listed here though is money in politics, right? But those items are like what the majority of Americans want, and nobody is talking about them.
I think that
now they are.
Yes, they are. That's the thing, is that Mangione allegedly murked the guy, but he's brought this back into the public discourse, and we're seeing institutions like this, like Newark, actually doing the legwork and trying to find from the people like what is the problem here. And most people said the person who killed that CEO, and also denials of healthcare coverage and profits made by the insurance industries. There's going to be successful campaigns run in the midterms by candidates who are going to vow to bring down health insurance industries. Like there will be people who get loud and campaign on ending health insurance as it exists today. And I think they're going to do very well. I think that's a message that will rally American voters.
Did Luigi Mangione smash through the Overton window? Did he is this I mean, the discourse on this and what's going to be considered acceptable by some people as well. I mean, wow, my God.
Yeah, I mean, no one. I think that we only see change when we make it uncomfortable for the people in power, and we maintain that long enough for them to actually act on that. So like when we were seeing all those protests on college campuses, they were physically making it difficult for the people who run the institutions, people in the cities and things like that, to do their normal status quo stuff because change was required in their view. Well, they just weathered the storm and nothing happened. There's been no change on public policy in the United States regarding Gaza and Israel's genocide.
Right, right.
So at some point, I have to ask the question, like you're pointing out here, we've done everything up to the line of civility. Like we've been civil as far as we can go. And I think Luigi was just like, well, it's time to cross the line and see if that helps.
So I have, well, don't say that yet, right? Because they're charging him with terrorism. And if
and see if it helps, he's going to be a martyr. Even if he'll be found guilty. I'm certain of it. But, even if he is, he will have opened the door for this discussion.
So, but who's responsible for, you brought up Israel and Gaza, and I think you make a really good point in that if you look at what was happening in the campuses, I mean, I think any abnormal time you remember, well, we don't remember because we weren't there, but we can look at like the Vietnam War and other protests back in the day. And it was very, very hard to like quash that, right? It was like you had to pay attention to what was going on. And Israel Palestine is a really good example though, because I feel like it was being quashed by all of the powers that be, like the left and the right and the mainstream media, and to the point where you have people on the left who are adamant about it not being an issue that we need to look at.
Yeah, no, you're completely right about that. Although historically, if you look at the protests that were going on during the Vietnam War, it's wildly mirrored. I mean, not mirrored. It's an echo. There were universities that you would think, like Berkeley and things, where you would think that are very liberal and in nature and very open and left leaning and things like that, and they were still trying to destroy student protests. They were trying to knock them down for the sake of safety and for the sake of blah blah blah. And so the powers that be were the same, and they fought the same way. I think the difference was that it was the United States engaging in war in a foreign country, and by and large, Americans don't really care for that unless there's a real tangible need for it. Like we sold Americans on terrorism and stuff like that for the Iraq War.
9/11.
9/11 and all that. So they're like the impetus for going to and remaining at war in those nations was there at the forefront, and all Americans understood it. In Vietnam, a lot of Americans didn't know what we were fighting for, so they were disenfranchised to begin with. But in Israel's Gaza, we're not engaged. We're not part of it. We're just supplying guns to the oppressor.
Right. Yeah.
And most Americans are like, that doesn't really affect me, which is unfortunate, but that's the reason that it lost all that steam as protests were shut down, and thank God we didn't have like a Kent State type thing go on, but could have been very bloody.
So, I mean, I'm really interested. What I'm really interested in is I think that the health care discussion that is happening right now, especially among the proletariat, right, is we need to rise up. This isn't the way. This isn't right. And the mainstream media and the powers that be on both sides, frankly, the ones with powerful donors in health insurance, are trying to put the lid on this so it doesn't bubble over. But we're seeing a real shift more than ever. We're seeing people drop from CNN, drop from Fox News, not watching mainstream media as much anymore.
Yeah. And viewership has changed. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm wondering what is your sense, at least, of the ability of those powers that be to stop society from bubbling over on issues like this.
Yeah, it is objectively worse now, even though I agree that the people who held the reins of power in terms of spreading information and forming a narrative and trying to, coalesce the American public thought on certain issues was the legacy media before. Now it's going to go to the highest bidder. It's going to be these Laura Loomer types or the Steve Bannons, the people who can actually
The Joe Rogans, yeah.
It's these populists who can
Yeah.
garner those views become, the most listened to.
And it's funny. I think when people say that we need a Joe Rogan of the left, I think what they really mean to say is, those that are in power anyway, they really mean to say we need a way to control these people together on the left.
Well, the left is, and this has historically been true as well, is that the left is notably splintered. We have a lot of different factions on the left, and they all hate each other. No, you're either not left enough, or you're too close to the center, or you're, whatever. And nobody on the left speaks for everybody on the left.
Sure.
Whereas many, many voices on the right speak for most of the voices on the right. As long as you have the right talking points and you believe the right things, you can get most Republican listener to agree with 80-90% of what you say.
I mean,
and they'll like and if you're, a flashy performance piece and you're fun to listen to, then they'll do it.
Yeah, you can't get a Donald Trump type character on the left who is such a part of one faction to get the entirety of the left to agree. But you look at how he united the right when he is such objectively terrible person with, and
an agent of chaos in his own right.
Yeah,
we talked about it with the House elections that'll be happening soon, or rather the speakership election, and he is having difficulty getting all of these people to agree enough to a point, and that's sort of their brand, like, who would you say on the left comes the closest to being able to speak to everyone in the party?
AOC.
Like, who's the most populist voice we have?
AOC.
I agree. And and I think that, 60% of the Democrats don't like her and don't like her message. So she's got the biggest minority, but I don't think there is anyone on the left who can speak to the majority.
I think that AOC speaks to the majority of Democrat constituents. I think that there is currently still a hold. I think that Nancy Pelosi, from her hospital bed, basically said, AOC can't lead the.
Don't let her lead. Yeah.
So when that part of the party dies, both literally and figuratively, I think that AOC, if she's, they're old. I think that AOC becomes the de facto leader of the Democratic Party, and I think then things will change.
She's doing a lot of good right now, just in terms of growing visibility and being more accepting on the
Nobody's
Democrat
doing
side.
more than AOC in that.
No, nobody.
Yeah.
We talked about it, I think, election night, or maybe the night before on the podcast, where, she held ostensibly a town hall on Instagram or something, or so. She was Twitch streaming, and she was fielding questions from anybody who could throw them out there. And they were asking, these are people that were asking questions like, well, I really agree with a lot of the things that they say about blah, blah, blah on the MAGA side of things. Like, what's your stance on this? And then she would just have a cogent thought of like, well, the reason that sounds good is because of X, Y, and Z. And I agree with this one little nugget of it, but fundamentally don't agree with that. And let's keep talking about it. She garnered just, hundreds of thousands of viewers.
Yeah. I think that the reason why Bernie Sanders, AOC, and I hate to say it, but also Donald Trump, they get so much support is that because they're not going back to a script right? They're not they
Right.
don't need this like book of like, oh, I better say the right thing or the party, the party will be mad at me. They're like, this is literally what I believe in with my whole self. So it's very easy for me to field questions like that.
That's really an interesting way of looking at it, because it speaks to the people who the Democrats have run recently, who I do not like. And it is just that. It's just, no matter what you were asked, you've got a pivot, canned statement ready to go
Right.
about something that is either tangentially related or not related at all. And you aren't engaging in a way that a human does.
Right.
And you see, like you said, Trump, for all of his faults, and he has plenty, he actually speaks like he's talking to a person.
Yeah.
AOC does the same thing,
Right.
and Bernie clearly did that too. But
Right.
I
mean, I like to think that's
they
the
need
way.
more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that's the way normal people are. You and I, if we're asked about a position on something, we're gonna talk about how we feel about it, and then maybe we can be convinced of one thing or another, but we're gonna speak honestly about how we feel about that thing.
Yeah.
And not rely on like, well, what do progressives or what do other liberals think about this? I better be on
Yeah, I better be in my camp saying the right thing,
Yeah.
as opposed to I'm just a human, trying to make it by. It makes me wonder if that was part of the appeal of Fetterman at the outset, because he also sort of spoke like I'm a dude from your town, and let's just talk about these things.
Oh no, it absolutely
was.
was.
Definitely had no scripts.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it definitely was, but he fell victim to, there's I don't want to say money to be made here, but you look out for yourself.
His view on certain things changed
Yeah.
when he realized that votes could be bought.
Not everybody is going to be as principled as they were before they took office and after they took office. So
it's unfortunate, because usually you see that outside of the Democrat Party, or at the very least, it takes 50 years for it to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have more recent examples, like Kristen Sinema is a really really good one, unfortunately. So, but to your point, I don't know if you wanted to say it, but I'll say it. I mean, Kamala Harris. You can look back at our earlier episodes, and I definitely wasn't all in. I wanted Kamala to beat Donald Trump because I thought we had a better chance of swaying policy with her than we do with Trump. But she was exactly that type of person who everything felt calculated. Same with Hillary, unfortunately. Same with Joe Biden. Everything was calculated. And to Joe Biden's credit, he did what he needed to do to win the election, which was let's take on some of Bernie's policies and talking points. We're not going to implement any of them. We're not going to whatever, but we're going to pretend for a little while, and then that all went out the window. But those guys, they felt more calculated, and it didn't feel right. Like, just something about it didn't feel normal, and like it reached the working class, like it reached the normal person. And I think AOC has a real shot at being a true lighthouse for the Democratic Party in the future, if we can just get past this grip that the I hate to call them the dinos, right? Like they do on the right, but the old guard has on it. Yeah.
Yeah, the old guard and the legacy establishment have this position of, we need to stay the course. We need to keep doing the same Dem politics we've been doing for 30 years at this point.
Right.
And it hasn't worked. We've had we've argued this in the past, but we would argue that Obama was, the only president that we really elected in the last 30 years that was okay. Biden, sure, but Obama was more running as a populist his first term,
for sure. Or more even in his second term. Yeah,
he ran against Hillary, who was doing the same playbook of, we're going to run the Dem playbook, and Obama's populism just trounced her in the primaries. And then
that has got to tell you something. People want to.
It doesn't. And that's what I was saying about the AOC thing, is that the old guard and the legacy media, they want to keep that style of politic in play, and it doesn't work. It hasn't worked, and I don't know who I need to get to listen to us to understand that.
No, the answer is it's racism, it's sexism, and I keep telling people. And by the way, I was the same way in oh god, what year was that? Was that 2008 or 2007? I guess I was all in
Yeah,
on
for the
Hillary
primary.
Clinton. I was all in on Hillary Clinton in 2007.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, all right, yeah, because I was a fan of Bill Clinton. I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I was still pretty young in terms of like politically understanding like
Yeah.
what was happening within the Democratic Party. And a black man named Barack Hussein Obama started speaking, and I was like, holy shit, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
that, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was blown away by the guy, and I fell for the populism. But what's true is I believe the guy was speaking from, he felt like he was speaking to me and from his heart, and that it felt natural and right, and it blew away Hillary Clinton in my mind. So to me, it's not that the United States, yes, we are sexist, we are racist. I mean, that is always going to be there. We elected a black man with the middle name Hussein for literally 8 years after the Iraq War, by the way, after Saddam Hussein. We literally elected a black man named Barack Hussein Obama, and it wasn't because he was a Democrat and we were looking for change or anything like that. It was because he was a populist that spoke to the working class, had nothing to do with his race, had nothing to do with anything else. If we do that again, we win.
Yeah, if we can just get people into the position to speak to the electorate face to face and tell them, I'm one of you.
The first female president
this shit.
will be the one that does that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that if Kamala, I have two things. If Kamala ran when Joe Biden ran, I think she had a fairly good chance of winning.
In 20, yeah.
In 20.
I mean, I argue that circumstances would have had to have been different because she was a first-term senator at the time and had no other experience in the politics.
Right.
I don't know that that's going to go over very well. I think that a lot of voters are like, no, you have to you have to earn your dues, so to speak. Although they elected Trump and he didn't have any political experience, so
yeah.
Maybe I'm a part of the old guard. I got gray hairs in my beard. It's time to hang them up.
I guess my point being, I think AOC, could win the presidency. Like, I really do.
She's on the right trajectory.
Yeah.
I think that if she gets support from, the middle of the center left-leaning people in the legacy media, in everywhere, elected officials, campaigning for instance, and then yeah, she's got a good shot. But I don't think as it is, like you said, Nancy Pelosi's in the hospital in a different country making the call for, we need a different minority leader, and it should be the 74-year-old person with cancer, not somebody who speaks to the people.
Yeah. Fair and ridiculous.
Yeah. And the Dems went with it. That's what I'm saying when I mean the old politics. It's just the elected Democrats had a majority of not AOC. She's not the one.
Yeah.
It's guy you've never heard of who has cancer and is 74.
Throat cancer is 74. And I mean, one last note, by the way, on changing the guard and 74. And do I have it up here? I wanted to show this, but I think I lost the image. So let me find it right here. Here it is. I'll just pull this up. This, I don't know if this is a tweet. Is this Threads or Twitter? I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it is anymore. So we know Jimmy Carter died recently. We're not going to talk about it on this episode. I have some things that I have to say on it. Rip Jimmy. But this tweet, it says the two oldest living presidents are now the incumbent president and the president-elect. That's wild.
It's not all that surprising.
I mean, Barack Obama's still alive. Bill Clinton
Clinton's still alive.
was president when I was in elementary school,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
he is not among the two oldest living presidents. They're the current income, the guy who's currently president, and then the guy coming in to office for the next 4 years. That's wild to me.
Right. I guess HW died, right? Yeah, he died in what? Did he? I mean, he must have. He's not on your list of the oldest
HW
presidents.
Oh yeah, yeah. He did.
It seems like it was just yesterday that he was having stories told about him molesting, cheerleaders and things.
Oh boy.
You remember that story? It was like it came out that he was like being inappropriate on like a professional football field with like meeting people, and the cheerleaders were like, he's being inappropriate with me and stuff, and his wife was like, yeah, that's just how he is. Try and ignore it.
Huh.
Remember that story?
I don't.
Laura Bush? No? All right.
But actually, now that I'm looking about, wait, W was born, they're both 78, Trump and W. He was born in July, and Trump was born in June. Doesn't that make
he's got a month on him.
Doesn't that make Trump older? Yeah, that makes Trump older.
That's what this says.
Right, that's what it says. Yeah, that's what it says.
Joe Biden's older than both of them.
But then when was Clinton? Because Clinton's 78 as well. That's crazy that they're all 78. When was Clinton was born in August? So yeah, Trump's got a couple of months on Bill Clinton and HW.
Okay, all right. Very, very technical here, but yeah, that's good.
But that is funny. They're all 78, but those guys are long. I mean, those guys are decades out of office. I mean, Clinton was president from 93 to 2000 or whatever it was, right? So 94 to 2000. So wait, that math doesn't math, but yeah, somewhere around there.
92 to 2000,
something like that. I don't know. Okay. I think the point we're trying to make here, and a good place to end on, is maybe we need to get a little bit younger. We need to get a little bit smarter. We need to get a little bit more, I know this is going to cause ruffles, but a little bit more populist. The Democratic Party, that is. And we need to prepare to win in 2028, 2026 and 2028.
Here's a fun little stat that I think we'll go out on this.
All right.
The median age in the United States is 38 and a half years old. Maybe our elected officials shouldn't be roughly twice that. Should we be having more in common with the average person?
That seems like a good idea.
Okay. They're going to call that a populist message, but I think that it's just, I think
that means you're ageist.
Oh, I'm good with that. That's fine.
Okay, that's a good place to go. We'll leave with Mike being ageist. Leave your comments below.
Post me in the comments. Yeah.
Again,
don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, please like and subscribe. Hate subscribe. That works. Hate subscribe.
Yeah. Keep tabs on us.
Yeah, we're approaching 100 subscribers. So that, I mean, that's
thank
awesome.
you all for all of you that have subscribed. It means a great deal to us.
Yeah, I mean, I know it takes a long time to build up a base, and we're only a couple months into this, but I'm excited to see where this goes. We're hoping to have on guests this year. I'm sure we're gonna be changing things up, cleaning things up, and getting better every time. So leave your questions, comments. I don't care about your concerns. And other than that, we'll see you next year in 2025. Right?
Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye.